we spend a lot of time working with student volunteers. And the class only works because students, you all who are here in the room, are willing to volunteer to come up here and talk about things, okay? And it's awesome for me because, A, I don't have to listen to myself, and I'm tired of listening to myself. It's awesome for you because you don't have to listen to me either, and that's awesome for you, that we really get to share in the experience of developing an understanding about particular topics that are out in the world. Okay? So the most important thing, this is for the stream. If you can put me in green, team. Look, these are students. And people in this room are between the ages of mostly 18 and 22, maybe 23. There might be a few people older than that, but they're students. They're not experts. Nobody is expected to be an expert. We all have this thing that happens to us. Maybe some of you have this with your parents, but as we get older and we look backwards, we have this idea or this fantasy that we were smarter than young people are today. And I can only see the world from where I'm standing. So if I've never left the state of Pennsylvania, what that means is, whoa, I have a lot to say from the perspective of somebody who has never left the state of Pennsylvania. And that's pretty cool because there are other people in the class, for example, let's say, who have lived all over the world. And, for them, it's so fascinating to hear from someone who's never left the state of Pennsylvania. Right here in the second row, man. Yeah. You got a lot of seats. There's seats all over. Okay? So you understand. It's so fascinating to hear from lots of different people from many different perspectives. And so all we can do is speak from our own perspective. And from our own perspective, we actually know a lot. When we ask people to volunteer, you never have any idea what you're going to talk about. So when you get a text from Leah, who you'll meet next Tuesday, I think, and she says, hey, can you volunteer today? And you ask, hey, what's the subject matter? She's going to say, I can't tell you. I'm not telling you. Because it doesn't matter what the topic is. We want to talk about hair straightening. And go back. Mostly in the black community. Mostly with women, because men can straighten their hair, but it's not a thing. So the issue is, what's the problem, okay? What type of hair do you have, your natural hair?
That's a really hard question. I think maybe close to about...
Hold it really tight.
Close to about 3B, maybe 3C.
3B, maybe 3C?
Yeah.
Trinity, what is your...
No, mine's is 4A naturally.
4A naturally? By the way, bro, that's not Trinity's real hair. Did you know that?
What is it, a wig? It's a wig.
Yeah. A wig and a...
So a wig is one big piece of hair. If I pull this hat back, it's one big chunk of hair all sewn together on a cap. A weave is you braid your hair and then you sew tracks onto your own braided hair.
But your natural hair, how long is your hair?
My natural hair is probably shoulder length curly.
Right now it is?
Yeah.
So and how do you have it up under your wig?
So underneath this, it's just I have two big braids, just braided back my natural hair.
So, but Danielle, so your natural hair is 3A or 3B maybe, 3C. So how do you straighten it? What do you do?
So usually my hair is actually I either get a relaxer or a perm, which for black people that tends to, at least for me, it makes my hair much straighter. So I don't actually have to use a flat iron or a curling iron to straighten my hair all the time. But for about 8 weeks, when I wash it and dry it, it'll go back to being pretty straight naturally. Or at least with a bit of blow drying and some flat ironing.
So doing it using the relaxer. And is it, how long does it take? you have a soft voice. Go ahead.
Yeah. How long does what take?
Yeah, just straightening it, like kind of keeping it straight, like how your treatment that you do.
Well, I guess, so I actually have extensions in right now. And the difference between extensions and a weave is that, like, a weave is pretty much everything, but extensions means that you have, like, some of your real hair out. And for when I get my extensions, like, redone every 8 weeks, that can be about, like, 4 to 5 hours. But when washing my hair, the time it takes to, like, wash and then let it dry and then, like, straighten it out, that will take about, like, 3 to 4 hours.
Okay, so I have a question for both of you then. Bro, do you have a question for them? Either of them?
Not now, but if I do, I'll let you.
Dude, let me know. All right. So I have a question for you, both of you. So there is historically been, by the way, if you look at like 4C, right? So the initial chart was made with just like 4A and 4B, and then do you know who made this chart first? The first person? Do you know who did it? It was a hairdresser for Oprah Winfrey, right? Who actually put this together and categorized hair in this way and put those numbers and letters to it. But if you look at, say, 4C, any of the four, and you imagine that you got to straighten that. Imagine what it takes to actually get that straight and to hold it straight. That's not easy to do. Like, it's really intense. It's really hard. A lot of chemicals, lots of things. So in the Black community, there are a lot of women who are like, just go natural, man. Like, what's the natural? Just go natural. I mean, this is not like wearing straight hair. So why? Can you say something about that? Why not? Why go natural?
Like, why just go natural? To choose why? Like,
yeah, so like, Blake is saying, somehow it's like, yeah, just be who you are. Like, yeah, go natural.
For me, I tend to, I don't know. I feel like in the Black community, it's a lot about, like, we kind of switch up our looks a lot.
Yeah.
There's many different ways you can do your hair. And I feel like with straightening, a lot of Black women now use it as like a way to trim their hair, keep their hair maintained. And sometimes it's just for a different look. But now it's become like a thing where, like, it's not, I would say we don't really straighten our hair as often anymore. I think it's become like more of a thing to go natural, which I guess it's like just because it better protects our hair. I feel like straightening is damaging to our hair. So
yeah, so it's easier to just put a wig on.
Yeah.
And for you, it's kind of like we were talking about plastic surgery on Tuesday, but in a way that's really a permanent thing, or like getting a tattoo. Getting a temporary tattoo is one thing, but it's a way to kind of switch things up.
Yeah, so for me, personally, my hair is extremely thin. In the past, it was always thin and short, and after wearing extensions for a couple of years, it's now been like it was able to grow a lot longer, which is good. But because I have that thinness, going natural doesn't make that much sense for me because I don't have a lot of like hair to work with. Like you see all these styles online, and you hear people talking about like you should go natural. And I think it should be everybody's choice, but regarding my hair and just its thinness, it's really hard for me to go natural because there's just not a lot to work with.
Okay, so, hey, by the way, how is it to have this conversation?
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's good, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good for people. So can you go to the next slide? So 2017, the U.S. Army just passed a ruling saying that Black women in the military, in the Army, are allowed to wear their hair natural, okay? Before 2017, the ruling in the military is like, no, you can't be natural. You can't have an afro, for example. No afros in the military. No, go back, if you look at, say, 4C, what happens, and this is what's really important, historically speaking,
Do either of you know the purpose of, curled, coiled? It's like kinked. There's, like 4B is kind of kinky hair. But most hair on people who have tight curls, it's not kinked, it's curled. So this is a thing, right? People talk about, oh, so-and-so has kinky hair. No, so-and-so probably has curled hair. So that's the first thing. But secondly, do you know the evolutionary value of having tight curls and kinks? Do either of you know?
My guess would be that, back in Africa, because the sun is always beating down and there's not a lot of rain in a bunch of regions, it could be better protection for the top of your head, but also just, I know my hair personally soaks up water like a sponge.
Yeah.
So that helps with, hydration, maybe.
Dude, were you going to say the same thing?
No.
Oh, well, in that case, okay. Yeah, look, you want, if you go, remember the map that I put up yesterday? Human beings, Homo sapiens, Homo erectus, we start in Africa. And people don't have baseball caps. No one's wearing a Yankees cap there, my friend. And so you're in the sun, and the sun's intense. And it's not to protect, it's to protect your brain. It's not about sunburn. It's about the brain. You really got to keep the brain cool. When your brain overheats, it's very much a problem. And so you got to find ways to keep the brain heated. So once your hair grows out, when it's tightly cured, look at 4C. When your hair starts growing like 4C, it is going to go like this, out, 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 out. And that means the sun's going to hit the edge of your hair. Like in your case, it would hit, the top of what would be your hat here, and not going to hit your scalp. Whereas me, the sun's going to hit me, and my brain's going to really heat up. And so from an evolutionary perspective, afros, right, is what we call people when you let 4C hair grow out. Say, for example, it starts to grow, and then your head is being protected. So it's very much a positive thing from an evolutionary perspective, right? Can you go to the next slide now? So in 2017, the U.S. military said, "Hey, you all can wear your hair natural," which is crazy to me. We're telling the two of you, if you join the Army, you join the military, you can't. You have to straighten your hair. And so when I said, hey, is there any problems to that? Well, here's a problem that we're telling women who don't have, if you go back, one or two hair, we're telling this whole population of people that no, you have to be white. You have to live your life as though you're white. This is a thing for lawyers, by the way. The lawyers stop this. One up on the lawyer. So that would be telling the two of you, no, you have to straighten. So go to the next slide. And then half of all U.S. states now have either passed or are passing laws saying that you cannot discriminate in the workplace. You cannot discriminate against women on the basis of wearing their hair natural. Come on, man, you come out of the womb as a black woman, and basically you come out of the womb and immediately you are branded saying oh, well, if your hair starts to curl or kink, y'all are going to have to straighten that out if you want to join the workforce and be treated equally as everybody else. That's deep racism. So when you say, people who say, oh, racism's been over a long time in the United States or whatever it is, you don't, 2017, that's pretty, that to me, it seems pretty racist. You know what I mean? That would be like saying you have to wear skin whitener. I don't know what the difference is. Trinity, you want to join the Army? Man, you got to put on a lot of skin whitener, my friend. You're going to have to whiten up. And 80% of black women, in one survey that I saw very recently, 80% of black women feel as though they will be discriminated against if they wear their hair natural. And there's plenty of research that we have that, wearing your hair natural, you're more likely to experience some kind of, more likely, not extreme, you're not definitely going to, but the two of you, going with a wig or wearing your hair as you're wearing your hair, this is gonna, Danielle wearing her hair like this, whether she wants to or not, is gonna benefit her in the workplace because not in every moment, but often. And that's the racism piece. Does that feel like racism? Do you wear your hair natural in part to avoid discrimination? Is that something you think about?
No, because it's just way easier for me to wear my hair like this. But I've had conversations about this with my parents. I've seen it within my school system in general that girls who wear their hair natural, or even if they just get something like box braids, they'll run into some problems where like they'll get dress coded for their hair when it's really shouldn't be a problem.
Dude, how do you get dress coded for wearing your hair natural? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Listen, when people talk about white supremacy, if I could drop that word out there, can I drop the word? And we're good? Are we good on that? White people. When people use a word like white supremacy or white privilege, we're in class 4, and I've not said anything about white people or white privilege or white supremacy, anything like that. But this feels to me like it would be an example of white privilege. Get dress coded because you wear your hair natural, right? And so sometimes, for those of you, especially those of you who are not black, just for a second, if you'll go with me, when you hear someone referencing this, and especially when you hear black people talking about some of these things, and maybe they're talking about some Chinese person dropping the N-bomb when they really weren't, and that sounds really stupid, but sometimes we're talking about things that are real, man. Do you wear your hair like that in part to?
For me, I'm someone who tends to wear my hair in protective styles. I'm usually in braids most of the time. But when I do wear my hair natural, I don't really wear it out like all at one time. I usually try to do like a style where like the front is slicked back, or like I have all my hair in a ponytail. I don't know. It just sometimes it seems like, well, not really anymore, but before when I used to have like a really big afro when I was in elementary school.
Oh, dude,
I used
can
to
I
wear
see
like
it?
really
Send me a photo of that.
I have a photo from my second grade. Yeah, I used to wear a really big afro, and it tends to make people stare at you. Like, it's a little, and it's sometimes uncomfortable. But now that we're kind of in a time where, like, wearing your natural hair isn't as, like, wow, oh my gosh, she has natural hair. I tend to now wear my curls out a little more, but it's still a little uncomfortable for me. Just because, also, it has a lot of work put into it. You have to do a lot of work to just wear your hair natural every day, and I personally don't have the time for that.
Yeah. My brother had probably like 3B hair, and my white brother, I should bring a photo, and he carried his pick with him, and every day he was constantly picking his hair, but he wore it in a big afro, so you know. Awesome. Hey, thanks for the conversation. Yeah. Okay. Any final things you want to say that you feel like people should know? Black women hair. Wait, do we have a question on the stream? Oh, we have a question from the stream. Here we go. How do you feel about white people who use black hairstyles? All right. White people rocking black hairstyles. You're both laughing.
I would tend to say it's not that big of a deal, but it becomes a little bit of a bigger deal when it becomes like you're not like, I don't mind you wearing braids in your hair. If that's what you want to do today, go ahead. But also it has been shown that white women wearing braids, it's damaging to their hair. It becomes like a lot of white people have to cut off their hair after wearing braids just because it's just not fit for their texture. But I don't mind white people wearing
You mean
braids.
like extensions?
Yeah, like wearing weaves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of weight on their hair just because of the texture of their hair. But I don't mind you wearing braids or wearing a weave. That's what you want to do today, go ahead.
Dude, you do you.
Yeah, it's just, I want to say it's I guess it is a black hairstyle. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, because it's all, globally, these styles are just borrowed and used and whatever. Danielle, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I really only have a problem with it in like two scenarios. One is when like a white person takes on a black hairstyle and then uses it as an excuse to start like acting black and like try to like use the fact that they have like a black hairstyle and are acting different from their old personality in a way that's more like stereotypical of Black people. I find that really irritating because we're more than just our hairstyle or like how we're perceived in the media. And my other, I guess, beef with white people who use Black hairstyles is really when like someone will take a Black hairstyle but still be racist against Black people. Like you'll adopt a part of our culture but still hate us at our core. Really, if like you're just some white person getting like box braids or getting dreads, it really doesn't matter to me. But when you like use the fact that you got dreads as an excuse to be rude against Black people or to try to adopt like stereotypical Black characteristics.
You mean like, and then like walking around dropping the N-bomb or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It also becomes a problem when it was a recent thing where like a white woman will get a braided hairstyle that we've been doing for years, and it's not acceptable, like you said, in the workplace for me to have straight backs or just wear my afro out or just, but when white women do it, it's okay. It's like,
okay.
She's doing a new hairstyle. She's so fancy. She didn't make herself all dolled up today, but it's like we do that every day, and it's a problem. But
it's something to think about. It does not go unnoticed. Yeah, and I think that's a really a valuable thing for us, for people to think about, because this is the kind of real stuff. You know, it's real when it comes down to discrimination, especially this idea that you can be discriminated against for being who you are. I mean, this is absurd, right? Hey, thanks, man. Awesome. You were awesome. Yeah, thanks.
So my name is Bo. I'm in my second semester of my senior year. I am a major in criminology and IST. And if I had to say what I am, I'm just like European American, I guess.
Uh-huh. Would you know where your ancestry is from?
Yeah, it's mainly from the whole entire area around the UK. I'm Welsh, English, Irish, Scottish,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Okay, I got you, man. All right. Where are you from in the U.S.?
I'm from Scranton.
Scranton? Oh, dude, Scranton. All right. Okay, so listen. So what's the problem, bro?
I think what we need to do is respect other people's opinions more.
Okay, so big problem for you is us not listening or respecting to other people's opinions.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, I see it a lot online. Someone can have an opinion that they're entitled to, but, you know, it's not political or anything like that. No matter what, someone's going to be silenced for what they're saying, or they're going to be ridiculed, even though they're being perfectly rational.
Even though they're just saying what they think or what they
Exactly, yeah, their honest opinion.
So do you see this in your own life, like on social media?
All the time, yeah, every day.
Yeah, in your life,
Yeah,
being silenced.
yes.
Like, so what kinds of opinions?
Political opinions, to say the very least.
Oh wait, you in your thing you identified as leaning conservative.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning conservative, like central right.
But dude, like central right for some people would be like you're a far right neo-fascist. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like for people on the far left, neo-Marxist, even just leaning a little bit to the right, is like, oh my God.
Yeah, I can see it.
So how do you experience it? Like, what do you? Because this is a big issue, right? So strangely, you know, here's your generation who's grown up with social media and all of these opportunities, you know, with these phones to just put our voices out there and to listen to other people's voices and so on and so forth, and yet to like be slamming each other down. So what can you just say? What else? What are you say more about what you're seeing?
So it depends on the internet where you go, whether it's YouTube or the site called Reddit.
Reddit's far left, isn't
exactly,
it?
yeah. I'm on there all the time.
I don't know how that is. Reddit's the front page of the internet.
I have no idea. I swear it just becomes a thing. People just flock to one platform.
Okay. All right.
And I use Reddit a lot, so I'm using different platforms. I'm not just talking about one group here, but for example, someone will say something like, you know what a subreddit is?
Yep.
A thread. there's no rule really pertaining to what kind of opinion you should have, but moderators, because they have a certain opinion, they will silence someone just because their political opinion, they disagree with them.
Yeah. Can you give me an example of a political opinion that you shared or have that, like, for example, I'll give you one, right?
Okay.
So because I'm not gonna, I'll give you one. With the immigration, all of the immigrants on the southern border, we really need to do something about that. Like we got to handle that. That this is a problem.
Right.
That would be. How about that?
Okay.
Wait, is that not really very radical?
I can find something to talk about with that. So
All right, go ahead. Yeah.
take, for example, someone who's far left. They wouldn't really see as much of an issue with that as someone that's more right. Because people who are more right, from my experience, what I see is they want everyone to be a citizen. And I've had friends who are more left. They say that immigration, the illegal immigration, is good for jobs. But I'm going to say my personal opinion, if that's okay.
Hey, you can throw it out.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Well, it's from what you see. But your personal opinion, here's the thing, though,
Yeah.
right? And I want to be really clear about this. Whatever your personal opinion is, if I push you a little bit, you'll shift that opinion in some other direction. Because, wait, how old are you, 21?
23.
23, so you're young.
I mean, 22, sorry.
22, all right. So you're going to push your opinion is just it's very short term, okay? But go ahead, throw an idea out. Doesn't have to be your
Okay.
opinion. Just throw an idea out. The people on the.
Okay, I'm not going to share my opinion then.
By the way, you should know that those of you in the classroom, 25% of this classroom identifies as conservative. Okay. I know this because it's the same every semester. 25% of the classroom identifies as kind of really liberal, and 50% of the classroom is right in the middle. And at any moment, the conservatives will take liberal positions, and the liberals will take conservative positions, and it just will all get mixed up. And that's just how things roll. But conservatives will tend to be silent on a college campus because they will tend to be afraid of getting concerned about getting canceled or silenced or something, but that doesn't happen in here because you've got to have key ideas. But throw the idea out.
So I hear people with their argument, why not just get a citizenship? Like, why be illegal when it's just something I don't see, like, the purpose of, like, just coming here illegally, like, unless you have to, escape a financial crisis or any other of that sort. If you are capable, why not just get citizenship?
Okay.
And you'll be eligible for more jobs, more benefits, etc.
Okay. And if you're not capable, if the U.S. government says, like, hey, that's cool, but we're not taking any more applications, so, like, whatever.
Oh, well, at that point, I guess, come on in, I don't know.
No. No, hold it. Take a conservative position here. I want to just throw this out there. Take a conservative position. I'll take it if you don't want to. It's pretty easy, but
Okay.
take a conservative position. Gabby's family, let's imagine they came here without documents. And they just like, we got to survive, so we're just going to come here.
Okay.
So what would a conservative say to that?
Like, if she came here illegally?
Yeah.
They would most likely, it depends on how far conservative you are too, but if you're very conservative, obviously you would disagree with that. They would
Okay.
say, why does she just have it easy? For example, that's what
Yeah.
they would say.
Yeah, like, why do you get to do that? And
Yeah.
other people didn't get to do that.
Right.
Which is a fair comment. I mean, there's a fairness thing. Conservatives are really into fairness, Liberals, you think you're really into fairness? Conservatives are driven by the idea of fairness, right? There are going to be rules. We're going to set up rules. And if the rules aren't fair, then you got to go out and you got to change the rules. but there are going to be a certain number of rules, like in the case of immigration. You got to follow the rules. There are a lot of people that want to come to the United States. So it's like, look, follow the rules. And if you don't follow the rules, then we're going to have a problem. We're going to send you back home or whatever. So it's not fair for you to sneak into the country when somebody else has been waiting patiently for a response from the U.S. government saying you can enter into the United States now. And you're just like, yeah, I'm just going to go on my own. It's like, that's not fair. That's a conservative idea. Okay, so when I say it like that, how is that? Can you stand behind that? How is that to stand behind? Conservatives are really into fairness.
It will be viewed differently depending on where you stand politically. I know that. Because I know some people that would say conservatives are, Germany in the 1940s, for example.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, but those people are but they're being very narrow-minded and very bigoted.
Well, yeah, but, I know both sides can be like that too.
Yeah, definitely. Dude, definitely. I'm actually often very impressed by how narrow people can be in their thinking. Okay, so the problem for you, the main problem is like people need to be more tolerant of other ideas so that we can share ideas. And then what will happen if we do that?
Okay. So I'm thinking, we need to seek common ground in our ideas. Just shush and think for a sec. Like, take into account, even if they have a stupid argument, just think, is there anything rational about what they're saying? Maybe you can find common ground and make the future better. Kind of work together on some ideas at least. Because I know the left and the right in this country is, in my opinion, it's becoming increasingly divided. And if we seek more common ground, we can agree on more things, and there will be a lot less violence, less riots from both sides, of course, and just less politicians screaming at each other and all that.
So I just want to push back on something here. You said even if they have a dumb argument or whatever, you make an argument, I think your argument is dumb. Maybe I'm dumb. Like, what makes me think that I'm not the dummy? Like, what is that?
I think it's more of what you hear more often.
Yeah.
It's confidence, I believe. Someone can be unconfident, but they can seem like a liar when they're telling the truth.
Yeah.
And that's because they're not hearing their side of the story more often.
Yeah.
Or they're not being agreed with.
Or they're not listening to the other side of the story more.
That's true too, yes.
So I have a couple ideas here is that people think they're educated. Many people think they're educated, but they've spent their entire lives around people who think like them. It's like, how are you going to be educated if you spend your entire lives with people who are like you? Like, you can't be educated. Educated is seeing the world from 1,000 different perspectives, or 1,000,000, or 1,000,000,000, or 1,000,000,000,000. And so if you, for example, the good thing about kind of arguing with people from different perspectives is you get challenged, right?
Right. So I think, once in a while, of course, you do have to have a challenge, but I think that encourages critical thinking. And you can solve more problems with that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, man. It's all about thinking. That's what we're doing here, is thinking. Okay. All right, dude. How was it to come out as a conservative?
No,
No, no, hang on. Let me change that. As a white guy conservative in Social 19.
So I wanted to be careful about what I had to say today.
Yeah.
And I feel that most of the campus is more left-leaning, of course. So maybe there's someone out there who wouldn't like me because of my political opinions. Like, no matter what they are, as long as I'm like on a different political spectrum than them, they might just, dislike you.
Yeah.
So I think people need to just get rid of that barrier and see you for your ideas themselves, not just because conservatives and liberals, you can be on the same side, quote unquote, but you can have very different arguments. I hear it all the time.
Oh yeah, totally.
But they always single out people who identify as something other than them, even though they might agree on the same things.
Yeah. To first off, there's nothing that's all conservative or all liberal. I don't even know what those terms mean anymore, honestly. and I made a comment about like, yeah, conservatives are really into fairness. It's like, well, yeah, that's true at a level, but it's also very contextual. Liberals are also into fairness. They just define fairness in a different way. But one thing that, first off, dude, 25% of this classroom identifies as conservative. So that would be like that entire section up there and half of this section here. It's a lot of people.
Hello, my name is Linnea. I'm in my third year here, majoring in Crim and Soc.
Dude, Soch. All right. And you are president of the NAACP here, right?
I am.
And you want to be a lawyer?
Yes.
Oh man, you are perfect for this. Okay, awesome.
Hi everyone, I am Astoria. I'm from Beijing, China, and I'm a sophomore in computer science.
But wait, hang on. But it's Yung?
Oh yeah, that's my Chinese name.
How do you hang on. How do you say it?
Yun Yun.
Yun?
Yun Yun. Yeah, you need to say it like you are dropping something on the ground, like Yun Yun.
Can you do that? Try it, yeah.
Yun Yun.
Yuan Yuan? Did I butcher it?
It's kinda like
Say it
that.
again.
It's okay.
Yun Yun.
Yuan Yuan.
Yeah,
Yun
that's
Yun.
similar. Yeah, that's good.
Dude, I love language. I really, listen, one of the reasons that I'll sometimes just say something in Spanish or get people to talk a little bit is because I just think we live in this multicultural, multinational world, and I feel like it's really important, those of us who learn languages, but like in the United States, maybe you'll disagree, I don't know. Do you speak any languages?
Not really. I used to speak Polish when I was little, but not so much anymore. And I took Spanish for 5 years, but
You habla español un poquito?
not really.
Dude, no, hang on.
For like
At least
5 years?
respond in Spanish.
No.
No mucho. Look, the thing is, I want to try to help break those barriers down. Like, I want to help us to have conversations in here about all sorts of things, but also that it's okay to speak another language and to butcher it or not butcher it. You did a nice job. Have you heard of this word?
No.
You have no
No, I
idea what
haven't.
this word is?
No.
Okay, so do you know what filler words are?
Yes.
What filler words do you use often?
Like, things like that.
Yeah, I think I use like a lot, right? Do I? You would know if you. Once I get going, I think I say like a lot. I try to stop that. Okay, so this is a filler word in Mandarin. Okay, and as a filler word, it sounds like another word. And there's one professor in particular. There's several who have been reprimanded for this word. One guy was suspended because he is a Chinese scholar and was talking to his students. And his students complained about, this guy was a really well-known Chinese scholar, and his students complained about him, and the university suspended him. And they did this big investigation because he used a Mandarin word and another language that is a word.
If you have a lot of or ers, and this is culturally specific, so based on your native language, like in China, the common word is that. So in China, it might be nega. So there's different words that you'll hear in different countries, but they're vocal disfluencies. It's saying that,
So I'll be really careful about it because I don't want to get fired from Penn State. So I won't even attempt the word, but Astoria, you will. So as a filler word, like how, well, they can't fire you, right? But this is a word in your in Mandarin, right?
Yes.
How common is it?
Okay, so the word in Mandarin, it means that. So just think about how often you use the word that in English. That's how often we use that in Chinese. Yeah.
So just from what you know, do you have any questions for Astoria?
Do you find it like difficult to use that word here?
Oh, dude. Dang, that's awesome.
I feel like I never did. I feel like I didn't really think of it like that way in America. Like I use Chinese in front of like other Chinese people, so I'm not worried about like other people misunderstanding it to some like other meanings.
Mm-hmm. You're not worried about it, but I want to say that I know of instances, quite a number of instances, where Chinese people have been attacked by people for using this word in a conversation. You know, and people thinking they're using a different word. Do you have any other questions for her? That first one was a good one, so you got to try to top that.
Do you know anybody who has had an issue using that word in public before?
I can't think of any case like from what I know. I feel like it's not like taken that seriously in China or like among Chinese people.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I never heard of like anything like anyone having trouble speaking that word. Although I have seen some stuff like online, like people, I don't know, just making fun of it in a not offensive way.
But you use it a lot in the way that we use and like and so on. But you're going to use it all the time.
Yeah, we do
like
use it.
Consecutively even. Like I say or like kind of thing. Like it could be, you know, we sometimes use filler. How about this one? Did you ever learn that in the United States this word could be a problem?
Yeah, I mean, there was a time it was like viral in the Chinese, like on the Chinese internet, because like there was a really popular Chinese singer who made a song, and in the song, like in the lyrics, he added so many that words, like just randomly. So that song went viral like in China, because people were saying that like some people were offended because that song was on YouTube, and some people were like, that sounded like that word, and it's not okay.
Okay, do you have another question?
Not off the top of my head. Can I think for a second? Are you familiar with any racial slurs targeted towards African Americans in the United States of America?
Oh, you are so, that was so good. I whispered to her, this is can I tell them what I whispered to you? And what you just said? I said, ask her if she knows what she's learned about the N-word. And you said, say it again.
Are you familiar with any racial slurs targeted against African Americans?
You're going to be an awesome lawyer.
So professional. Yeah, I am. I think I'm pretty aware of like other things that I shouldn't say in America. Yeah.
Where'd you learn that? Like, where do you learn them?
Well, I mean, I have only been in America for a year, but I used to like watch so many sitcoms, like movies, and like read stuff online about America.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have a general like sense of what's the political correctness is like in America, in its environment. Yeah.
So you have these Americans who say they hear Chinese speaking, right? And people have said like, hey, you shouldn't use that word. So this would be like telling you, hey, you should never say or like, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I personally think that if you're not saying the actual slur, then I don't see the issue with it. If you're speaking in a language that uses a word that sounds like it, it's not, I mean, you didn't make the language.
Yeah, you got 10,000 characters in Mandarin or something. So it's like they could pull one out; it wouldn't really matter. But let me ask you this question. This is why you're really good for this section right here, this case study. So, as part of the NAACP, like one of the things that you do, and the organization has done, is really speak out, organize on behalf of the rights of people of African ancestry in the United States, okay? And not just African Americans, but Afro-Caribbeans and now Africans who are here in the U.S., so it's not just African Americans. For you, when people took a couple cases like this to the NAACP and people didn't tell them, dude, go home. Like, stop. Like, what's your problem? Chinese are allowed to speak Chinese. They didn't do that. And so I'm just wondering for you, as someone who's going to be a lawyer, at what point in time do you say, like, listen, people, you have to, grow up, like, I don't know, like I just said it there. This is unacceptable to complain about something like this. So can you maybe, as a future leader?
I think that to bring a case to an organization like the NAACP, for example, which stands for, like, primarily focuses on Black Americans, but also does stand for other minorities. To bring a case like that and to have an issue with a word in another, like a quote unquote foreign language, I feel like that is so problematic, just because you're kind of like going to the people who support that group of people and are like, hey, there's a problem. I do think that the issue maybe, and I'm not well versed in this specific case, but if there wasn't, let's say, like a recording of whatever professor said it, right?
Yeah.
So there's the question of, okay, did he really slip something in there, or was he actually like saying something that was controversial?
Well, in this one case, there was a recording, and he was teaching people about, in Mandarin, about words, and talking about filler words, and talking about all sorts of things, right?
Yeah. I think that's problematic. I think especially because people who don't understand other languages or don't understand cultures that are foreign to them already are like, I feel like we have this apprehension, or like this, what's the word? We're not as willing to learn about them and accept them. So we're immediately ready to like jump on it. Oh my God, well, I don't understand what they're saying. Maybe they're saying something about me. Maybe they're saying something about, I don't know, you, and calling you a moron, and you would never know. Like,
people call me a moron all the time, and I don't know, so I'm cool with that. Yeah, but this is the thing. I think you really hit it. The reason I'm asking you, one reason I'm asking you these questions is because there are a lot of people who, in the U.S., people my age, around my age, who just feel like you all have lost your damn minds. This woke culture, this whole whatever it is, it's like you all have lost your damn minds. And what I find is that when I bring people up to sit on the desk and they talk, just like, the two of you are talking, we're going to come back to you, Astoria, but as you're talking, it's like people are surprised that college students are actually really thoughtful and really smart, and that you would say something like you just said. Because the idea, the cases that we hear that rise to the level of like CNN or MSNBC or Fox or something are these extreme cases that sounds like y'all have lost your damn minds. And I don't think that's the case. I think you're actually very reasonable and thoughtful, but some people lose their minds.
I have family like that.
Yeah.
So if I seem reasonable now, it's because I have practice arguing about stuff like this. I understand like firsthand. I have like older generation family who are very much like, all of this is ridiculous, very anti, I guess, like pronouns or transgender identities, things like that. They're very like stuck in their ways about things. And so like, if you were raised or you grew up in a time where other cultures were like scary or things like that, you're going to be stuck in your ways where you're going to reject them.
Yeah, got you. And do you have family members who are pretty radical, like on the left?
I wouldn't say radical, no. But
you have friends. I mean, you must know people who are pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes what happens in a case like this is people will hear a story and then say, oh, can you listen, man, let me tell you what my Social 119 professor said, right? And then they maybe twist it a little bit, but then you tell it to your friend, and your friend's like, oh my God, this guy said, and then they change it even more. And by the time it kind of gets back to me, it's as though I said something in Polish, when in fact I said something in a Tagalog. I don't know, And it's crazy, and I think that this is one of the things that we have to be really thoughtful and reasonable, and always we start with the idea of, wait a minute. What actually happened? Were you there, and how well do you remember? And very often what I find is these kind of extreme crazy stories are like, okay, this is kind of nutty. But for you, it's really important for someone like you, right? Because you are the future in these ways of law and social activism. as someone who's part of NAACP, because in a way it's an activist, not entirely, but it is. And it's incumbent upon you to be reasonable. Yeah.
Introduce thyself.
Hello, my name is Yasmin Thomas, but I go by Yaz. I am a sophomore. I am an RHS major, and my track is physical therapy.
Wait, RHS, rehab?
Rehabilitation and Human Services.
Uh-huh. How'd you choose that, by the way? How'd you end up there, of all places?
Well, so my first goal of thought was to go into orthopedic surgery, but I was like, I'm not going to have enough money for that because of like farther schooling. So it's like, I might as well just start on the track of physical therapy, get that all set out and done. And then if I wanted to, I would go into like the doctor track later on in life.
Oh, that's cool. All right, man. Dude, just do that. Hold it like that. Put your thumb on it, and then you put your thumb right on your... Yeah, dude, right like that. Oh, awesome. Okay, so, Yaz.
Yes, sir.
Where are you from, by the way?
I am from Irving, Texas, which is in Dallas County.
Irving, Texas?
Yes, sir.
Did you go to one of those like really rich schools down there?
I freaking wish.
Oh, all right, all right. There are a couple schools down there around Dallas that are, I mean, they have football stadiums that hold 30,000 people and that sort of thing.
Yeah, Friday Night Lights. That's what Texas is known for.
I had a student from one of those high schools in class a couple years ago. I was blown away, the stories he was telling. All right, so listen, what's the problem?
You want the long list or the short one?
Just give me the one that really jumps out for you.
It's people not minding their business.
People not minding their business. Yeah? Damn, dude. All right. All right. What do you mean by that?
Whether it be like socially or politically, people don't know how to like stay in their own lane. They're always giving unrequested advice, or they're just like jumping in or butting in something that literally doesn't require them to be there at all. Like if I'm having a conversation between A and B, you need to see your way out. Like, don't include yourself. Like, I don't need you there.
Okay, what about groups though? What about people who are pushing for social change and they're out protesting in the streets and so on? They're not minding their own business. And
so there's a difference between wanted attention and unwanted attention.
Uh-huh.
So
right,
like
ahead.
if it's like a social cause or a social controversy that requires social integrity between people, then yes, it is okay for you to be out there, state your opinion, or just have a good like interaction. However, if it is like literally an online joke between a group of people in a like demographic, and then someone says a joke, but the people in that demographic get it and you don't, and then you get upset by not being included in that situation, then you really can't get mad at them, because that's not, like, some people just grow up different, or people are in different lifestyles or in different organizations when they're younger or in their whole lifetime.
So where do you see that happening? So is it what's your ancestry, by the way?
As far as I know, I'm black.
But do you? Yeah, I can see that.
Thank
actually.
you.
But,
I can see too.
Yeah,
I look in the
I got
mirror
you,
every
man.
day. I say,
but
oh my
listen,
God.
actually though, no, but we're going to talk about DNA stuff in here. It's like you'd be surprised at what you miss. But do you identify? Do you have any like Afro-Caribbean?
No, sir.
Okay, all right, got you, man. So you so African American. I make the distinction like this, just so you know in the class. So African American. These are terms that I'll use. Trace your ancestry to slavery in North America, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So where do you see the example you just gave about people having all sorts of experiences and then other people feeling as though they get left out of those experiences and they feel some kind of way about it? Where do you see that?
So, picture it, right? You're scrolling on Instagram, TikTok, whatever your social platform may be, and this says like, this parent does this, and it's like a little like funny skit or like a skit that showed like a certain issue. Like, say in a black household, whenever you get a bad grade and your parent finds out, they ask for your report card. Next thing you know, you're like, I don't have my report card. And they're like, yes, you did. The school called me. Show me your report card. Next thing you know, they pull a belt out of nowhere and they're just waiting for you to show them your grade. But for other demographics, say like a person who's like not a person of color, but they're not be their parents' first intuition thought as to like whoop your child whenever they get a bad grade or don't like succeed like socially or mentally or academically. It's like not their first goal. But within people of color like households, well, specifically mine, grades was a big thing that you would get in trouble for. So that's why that was like a big thing that was like on the internet. And then people from the, the demographic, they were like, that's child abuse. That's not okay. That's not right. And I'm just like, yeah, it isn't. It's okay. But I'm pretty sure we all know by now. Our parents know it's not good. But at some time, it's a point they're going to learn on their own time. I just can't push them to learn something because either way, they're going to push it out of their mind in one ear, out the other. So
that's an awesome example, by the way. When you see those, when you have those experiences, what do you do as Yaz, the black woman, African-American woman? I'll use African-American, okay? Or black. Should I say black or African-American?
it can make a chicken cluck. I don't really care.
All right, dude. Awesome, man. All right. How do you respond to that when you see that? Like, how old are you? 19?
20.
You're 20. How do you, as a 20-year-old Gen Zer black woman from Texas, respond to that?
Well, I'll go about my Southern Belle charm and just giggle at it and scroll on. I'm playing. I don't do that. Usually I look at it, screenshot it, send it on Instagram for my story to see, and then I send it to my best friend, and we do like shits and giggles, and we look at that for a little bit, and I just go back and look at him like, wow, next subject. And that's how I go about it.
Hey, so what do you think about what else is the problem?
I like to say people doing that weird thing where they say millennials are better than Gen Zers or Gen Xers are better than boomers. I don't really like that because at some point of life, you're going to get to that stage and you're just going to be as miserable as they are. So just like zip it, lock it, put it in your pocket, babe. I don't need to hear about it.
What else?
I entertain y'all, don't I? Check out my check out my Comedy Central in like 2 years. Gonna see me on
right,
there.
You heard it right here. Yeah, it started right here, man. What do you think is like an essential problem with? So you identify this issue between people of different age groups and age categories and stuff, right?
Yeah.
People need to just like open up. How open do you feel people are of your like people around you are?
Well, I feel like we need to start bringing back diaries. People keep posting everything. Buki, I don't need to know about your man cheating on you 13 times in a row. That's none of my business, and I don't need to hear about you crying over him. That's
So you think as a 20-year-old,
yeah,
you're thinking actually people are sharing too much.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Huh. And what do you think that does for them or for us or whatever the case is? Like, what do you think?
I feel like it started with the reality TV phase. Like everybody was having a TV show, spreading their business. Everybody's creating little storylines about their lives. And then once they got off air, they were like, why do people think I'm a bad person? I don't know, Gabby. Didn't you tell somebody they had a you know what and then they deserve to you know what? That's not something you can just showcase on television and expect people to not want to hold against you. You know what I mean? Like your words have impact, whether real or fake. Like you just can't be upset about that.
So how many people around you that you know of think similarly to you?
I like to say a good portion.
Really?
Yeah.
Because so many people of say like of my generation have the idea that people of your not me, because I know people of your generation, right? But people have this idea that your generation wants to just be out in the world and have cameras on them and be famous and celebrities and all sorts of stuff, and they want to put their business out everywhere. And what I'm hearing from you is actually, for me and for people around me, that's not really true.
Yeah, because like at some point, doesn't it get tiring to hear about the celebrity who cheated on their partner, the celebrity that got into this controversy, the celebrity that like causes this much problems in another area? At some point, you're just like, well, damn, like that's what my neighbor down the street does. I don't really need to know their business like that. That's not going to impact my day-to-day life. Like it's just a normal situation that people blow out of proportion. Like somebody cheating on another person, that is a terrible thing. But if you put it on air, baby, they're going to blast you much harder than they would Rochelle and Mark are just like on the side in the corner who got cheated on 2 minutes ago. Like you're a celebrity. You're in broad lights. You're supposed to be this quote unquote legend or individual that everybody loves and cherishes. You're not supposed to do no wrong. But
Yeah, got you.
trust
Got
me,
you.
you're going to have your little groupies who say that you can do no wrong, and then when you do wrong to them, they're still going to be, no, they didn't do any wrong.
Yeah. Okay. What else? Let's go back to what's the problem? Pick out one more.
Racism within the queer community, I guess.
Racism inside the queer community?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you see?
Well, people go with these weird stereotypes of grouping people along. People usually associate black lesbians with being masculine or dominant and stuff like that. I'm just like, that's not how people are as a individual. Like, people's individual personality traits are how they dictate their life. Them being queer and in another part of their body doesn't correlate well, because if you know, like, the stereotype of black women, they're strong, they're usually perceived as masculine, and then once you put the label of lesbian on it, you're automatically considered a stud or a, a D word.
Or butchy or whatever.
Yeah, them.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So, okay, so racism inside of the queer community.
Yeah.
Right? Both with women and men. You're talking about women, but men also?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I see a lot of black men talk about their experiences with white queer men.
Uh-huh.
And some of the things they be talking about is really, like, depleting in itself, because you realize, like, wow, it's still going to hover over us no matter what. Because, like, they usually correlate black men in the gay community with being, like, that, like, thing called jungle fever and stuff like that?
Yeah, dude, like, and totally hypersexual.
Like it's hypersexualizing of, like, black men, and they already go through that at a young age. And for you to, like, do it again and into adulthood, it's not basically breaking the cycle. It's making it much farther and much worse. And then people get mad at them when they do over-sexualize themselves. Yeah. And it's like a whole reverse cycle, I guess.
So we have the idea that once we put these demographic groups together, like whatever the disabled community, right? Whatever the black community, the queer community, whatever, that everyone is all together. Everyone in the queer community unites around the issues because everybody shares the fact that in some way they're LGBTQ, whatever. But for you, you're saying actually that's just there are multiple layers of that, and that's not really.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a freaking tiramisu or like cheesecake. That thing has many layers. You just can't have one layer of something and be like, it's done, it's complete. You have to put it all together if you want to fully enjoy something.
So that's what's interesting. People on the outside of communities often have the assumption that communities are really bonded and united, which I don't know. Well, we only have those assumptions when we don't know that community and what it is. Once we're connected to the community, then it's easy to see, like, look, man, everybody's different. Everybody has different perspectives and ideas. You have like, black lesbians who are ultra conservative, black lesbians who are ultra liberal, black whatever. It doesn't really. It's just B, C. Open yourselves up to it.
Yeah, because I would say people are a spectrum. Like, literally, like, physically, politically, socially, mentally, racially, they're all on a spectrum. Everything is changing. People are sifting different narratives, different definitions. So you might as well just like get used to change. But that's human behavior of not wanting to change. So yeah.
Yeah. Listen, man. Can you just say that again? Get used to change. Like, just say it to everybody right here. Like, so you're speaking to the class. Like, say it loud. Say it proud. Get used.
I'm
to
black
change.
and I'm proud. Okay. Get used to change. It's always there. It's always happening. If you don't want to change, I'm sorry, Buki, but life isn't going to stop for you. It's not going to stop for anybody else. Go ahead and get that change in, get that work in. Keep your head up.
Awesome. Thanks, man.